What's up, sports bettors? We have every major sport going on. Playtime's over. We're going to be going through a ton of sharp bets for today, all player props. We have NFL, we have NHL, we have MLB player props, we have NBA player props, every major sport, tons of them, tons of money. Let's get into it. So yesterday we gave out Westbrook under 15.5 points. That cashed, he had two. And we'll be waiting for Sunday. We have Deebo Samuel over 60.5 receiving yards. But anyways, let's get into sharp sports betting, right? How do you find profitable bets? So one of the tools I like to start out with on OddsJam is this middle betting tool. So all a middle bet is it shows you where sportsbooks have the lines set at completely different levels. So for example, what we can see here is in the Washington versus Cal game. So if I click over to this game, is this the game? No, this is Mississippi State, Alabama. So we can look at the top one, Mississippi State, Alabama. It looks like there's a huge discrepancy in Rara Thomas's receiving yards line between FanDuel and PrizePicks. So if we go ahead and we kind of click into it, it's literally wild. FanDuel has this guy's receiving yards over under set at 35.5 yards. Now, on PrizePicks, I apologize, it's set at an OU of 60.5. So that's a 25-yard difference. So what's a profitable strategy? It's called middle betting, is you could bet the over on FanDuel and you could use the under on PrizePicks. Rara Thomas. Now, college football player props, they're not available everywhere. They're not currently available in my location, but there's tons of opportunities, tons of discrepancies kind of in college football player props. So I definitely recommend, using OddsJam, using kind of the middle betting tool to find these opportunities. So here we can see another one. Wayne Taulapala in Washington versus California, 13-yard middle. Underdog has his line at 62.5, 13 yards higher than where FanDuel has his line, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. But anyways, let's start getting into some of the picks I have. So first I have Gary Trent under 17.5 player points, and this is on ThriveFantasy. So I ended up pairing that with Brian Robinson under 54.5 rushing yards. So two unders, one NBA, one NFL, and you can see here, we're getting this at the implied odds of minus 111 on ThriveFantasy. And we can talk about the math here in a second, but long story short, this two-leg parlay on FanDuel, you'd be getting 1,000 to win 1.8K in profit. So it would be you're betting 1,000 to win 1.8K in profit. Now, if we take a look at Thrive, we're betting 1,000 to win 2.6K in profit. So this says possible winnings is 3.6K, which just means 2.6K in profit plus your $1,000 stake back. So Thrive Fantasy, we're getting 1,000 to win 2.6K. On FanDuel, it's 1,000 to win 1,800. So we're finding a ton of value on Thrive Fantasy, enough to beat the VIG, beat the juice, and have a mathematically profitable bet, right? So this is an incredible bet. This is Gary Trent under 17.5 points. Minus 111 implied odds on Thrive, right? Every sportsbook is pricing this, minus 125 to minus 198 on FanDuel. Pinnacle, the sharpest bookmaker in the world, they're pricing this at minus 149. We're getting this minus 111 implied odds on Thrive Fantasy. And again, we've kind of gone through the math of how to convert PrizePicks and what you're playing, as well as Underdog Fantasy and Thrive Fantasy into odds, right? So essentially, on Thrive Fantasy, any two-pick entry, you're going to see 1,000 to win 3.6K. And if any of this is confusing, you can ask questions, whatever. But what you can see is if we go to a calculator, like a parlay calculator, if you put in 1,000 to win 3,600, you're essentially getting a two-leg parlay where each leg is minus 111. So because any two-leg parlay on Thrive Fantasy is 1,000 to win 3.6K, essentially we're just getting the implied juice on all of our picks of minus 111. So we're looking for value for positive EV wagers at the line of minus 111. So you can see right here, there's a ton of value in taking Gary Trent Jr. under 17.5 points on Thrive Fantasy. You absolutely want to be all over this play, right? Pinnacle has this minus 149, PointsBet minus 135. The way you want to think about sports betting is all these bookmakers, are independent data points of where the line should be set. So Pinnacle is the sharpest sports book, but all these bookmakers, they price lines, they set lines independently. So we can take a look at where all the sports books are setting their lines and just try to get a consensus of what's the no vig odds, right? What is the true line once you remove the vig? So you can see right here, here's the Brian Robinson play. So 4.25% profit margin on this play, 9.08 on this play. So pretty ridiculous. Ridiculously high profit margins on these plays. But anyways, kind of you can see here, it's like if we go to a no vig odds calculator, Pinnacle, they have their under at minus 149. They have the over at plus 114. So the under is very juiced, which means the under is a lot more likely to occur, right? The more the sportsbook juices a line towards the over or the under, that means they think the under is more likely to occur, right? If the under were, minus 500 and the over were plus 400, the under would be like 80.65% to occur. So on Pinnacle, it was plus 114. On the over, the under was priced at minus 149. So we can see the true odds with the vig removed is minus 128 according to Pinnacle, and this bet should be winning. The under should be cashing 56% of the time. Right? Now, DraftKings is more bullish on his under. They have the under at minus 155, and they have the over at plus 125. So if we put in DraftKings market here, it's like, they think the under is 57.7% to occur. So DraftKings is a little more bullish. So you can kind of look at all these bookmakers, treat them as independent, data points of where the line should be set, and try to get a sense of, okay, what's the true odds with the vig removed? And basically, looking at any sports book, except for Sports Illustrated, I guess, it's extremely clear that taking this at minus 111 on ThriveFantasy is incredible value. And again, what's so crazy about ThriveFantasy is this is one of those platforms where they're not changing, your payout depending on if you select the over or the under. So you can see it's 100 to win 360. If we switch this to an over, it's still going to be 100 to win 360. So it's just a fixed parlay platform. Every leg has the implied odds of minus 111. So first play, second play, boom, boom. Now we can get into another play. So this is, you'd be getting 1,000 to win 100 to win 490 on DraftKings. So it's a 3-leg parlay. We have Ben Simmons over 6.5 rebounds, Bam over 8.5, and Matt Ryan under 1.5 passing TDs. On DraftKings, you'd be getting 100 to win 490. We're getting, if we take a look here, 100 to win 600. So 100 to win 490, 100 to win 600. So a ton of value. On Underdog Fantasy, what you'll notice is for 3-pick entries, you're getting the implied juice of minus 122. Right? So I'll include an article kind of about how PrizePicks Underdog Fantasy works, but basically you're looking for value at the line of minus 122. So what we can do is just okay, what picks did we end up going with? We can take a look. We went with Stamkos under 3.5 shots on goal. This was the most incredible play. As well as a variety of others. I mean, it's really about hunting down the value. So here we can see it, right? Steven Stamkos under 3.5 shots on goal, minus 122 in a 3-pick entry on Underdog, or you could have played it on PrizePicks in a 5-pick flex at minus 119. Now, all the sports books have the under juiced to minus 175, minus 180. So we have all these bookmakers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're all telling us the same thing. The under's a lot more likely to occur. The under should be heavily juiced. Right? And we're getting minus 122. We have, all these data points. It's like having, all these data points are telling us, all these sports books and their models and all the action they're seeing in the market is telling us, hey, this line should be set at minus 180, and we're able to grab it minus 122 on Underdog. So that's absolutely ridiculous value. The no vig odds is minus 150. So 9% profit margin on this play. Matt Ryan under 1.5 passing TDs. Once again, under heavily juiced. Under's a lot more likely to occur. Pinnacle Sportsbook has the under as a 2-1 favorite, right? And again, on Underdog, they're not changing your payout depending on if you select the overs or the unders. So long story short, I ended up finding a bunch of picks on, kind of an underdog as well as Thrive. So we have Bam over 8.5 rebounds, Simmons over 6.5, Matt Ryan under 1.5 passing TDs, 100 to win 600. We have DeMar under 5.5 assists paired in this one. So just replacing Bam with DeMar right here, 250 to win 1.5K. And then we have a 5-pick entry, 400 to win 8,000. So you may be like, okay, where did all these picks come from? All of them were from the EV page, except for this play on Drake London, right? So this play on Drake London, I actually found using this screen on OddsJam. So if we go ahead and we type in player receiving yards, what's really cool, and I love to do with this screen, is you can kind of, as a sharp sports bettor, we're always looking for value. We're trying to beat the vig, beat the juice, find bets that are on sale, right? That's essentially what you're trying to do. Sportsbooks charge a 4 to 5% juice or spread. You're trying to find enough value, right, where you're beating the vig, you're beating the juice. So what we can do is just kind of like, scroll around, and if we take a look at Drake London, you'll notice Underdog has his line at 49.5, or I apologize, 52.5 receiving yards. All of the sports books are setting his line 8 yards lower at 44.5. So this was a middle bet as well. So kind of the same way I showed you that middle tool earlier, here's another big line discrepancy, right? PrizePicks has his line 5 yards lower at 47.5. All the sports books have him at 44.5. So 8 yards lower. So being able to get the under 52.5 is ridiculous value, right? So we're just like using OddsJam and just kind of like scanning, looking for big discrepancies. So here it's like 26.5 versus 29.5. Maybe not too much value on Paris Campbell. But if you continue to scroll around, sometimes you can find some good spots with value where there's big line discrepancies. Here's another one, right? On PrizePicks. You have in the Cleveland game, David Njoku, under looks good on PrizePicks, right? PrizePicks has his line set at, let's see if I can zoom in. Well, I think I just clicked the wrong tab. But long story short, you get the point. You can view a bunch of games kind of side by side and just scan around pretty quickly and just look for discrepancies. So hopefully this was helpful, and let's make some money.